Hello. How is everyone today? Make sure this is all still working. Yep, coolio. Okay. I don't think there's a lot to talk about today. Where did we end? I think we ended on... This is saying chapter 5, so we still have like 6 chapters, because we just started chapter 5. I don't expect us to finish today then. We'll try to get at least 2 chapters done today, hopefully. We'll see how I feel after that. But otherwise, I don't think there's... Yeah, I don't think there's much to talk about. No updates, I don't think. Oh, the only update I have is I finally finished season 3 of Digimon, and it's one I've never fully watched in order. And I gotta say, it was better than I was expecting. And then rewatching Soul Eater again. But otherwise, I think that's all that's going on. We will get started. Okay. Good morning, Your Highness. Would you like to play with us? You want to play with me? Yeah, come play with us. We'll have lots of fun. Well, please, just a little while. Maybe I can. Lucetta, what are you doing in front of the gates? Mother. Good morning, Your Majesty. We were just wondering if the princess wants to play with us. No, Princess Lucetta does not want to play with you. But Mother, I do. Enough idle chatter. We must go. It's almost time for your dance lessons. But... Lucetta, do not make me repeat myself. Yes, Mother. It is still dawn when I wake up. As much as I want to continue sleeping, I have no choice but to get up and prepare for the day. The last thing I need is an annoying lecture from the head maid. I have almost become accustomed to waking up this early, even if I do not enjoy it. As soon as my preparations are made, I begin to make my way towards Emily's room should she wake early. I am about halfway there when I hear familiar voices. Standing far ahead of me are Sir Alacaster and Sir Mythos. Are you sure this is going to work? Have a little faith in me, my friend. Friend? We're not friends. Sir Alacaster narrows his eyes, then turns abruptly to look at me. Ah, Miss Lucetta, was it? Sir Mythos, Sir Alacaster. Have you been eavesdropping, child? He has no reason to be angry at me. If they were talking about something confidential, they should not have been openly talking in the hallway. I'm on my way to Princess Emily's room, sir. This is why I am here. I coolly look at Sir Alacaster, who looks like he's about to pop a vein. I cannot help but feel satisfied at his reaction. In just a few steps, he's suddenly looming over me. I have never seen Sir Alacaster look so angry before. Give me like 2 seconds. There we go. What is going on? Rod is now walking towards us with a scowl on his face. Sir Alacaster notices this and quickly steps back. There was just a little misunderstanding, Your Highness. Rod glances at me, his eyes narrowing. Great, I am sure he's going to blame me for this too, even though I did nothing. Oh, he's protecting us. That's a surprise. Much to my surprise, Rod puts himself between me and Sir Alacaster. Are you alright, Lucetta? He's worried about me. I slowly nod. Rod turns back to Sir Alacaster and Sir Mythos. If you don't have any business with Lucetta, I will be taking her with me. Emily is already waiting for her. Sir Alacaster stares at me for a few moments before bowing down to Rod. Of course, Your Highness. Thank you. Rod turns to me again, his expression solemn. Shall we? He walks off before waiting for my reply. I look back at Sir Alacaster and Sir Mythos one last time before chasing after him. Both of us spend the next few minutes walking in silence. Rod has not said a thing since my encounter with Sir Mythos and Sir Alacaster. Are you okay? What? He already asked me this before. Is he really that worried? I mean, nothing happened, so I'm fine. I am surprised by the look on Rod's face at my response. His expression is soft, so unlike his usual scowl. Rod here is pretty worried about you, Princess. I do like that they use a different font for his bunny. Rod glares at Sabby, his cheeks turning pink. Sabby chuckles. Sorry, Rod, your thoughts ring so loud in your mind that I can't help but say them aloud. This is not the first time Sabby has told me about what Rod is thinking. Rod reaches out and pinches Sabby's face, his scowl returning. Ow, 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 I'm sorry, okay? But next time try not to think too loudly. You said that Emily was waiting for me. I didn't expect her to be up so early. Where is she? I lied. What? He lied to help me out of that situation? Why are you helping me? Because while you're here, you are my responsibility. I may loathe the role, but I will still uphold it. Besides, you don't need a reason to help someone in need. Help someone in need? I remember Parfait and Delora telling me before that being good often involves helping others who are in need. Now that I have helped you, I'll be taking my leave now. I have fencing lessons to attend. Rod starts walking off, but then stops and turns back to me. Don't get yourself into more trouble. I won't be there all the time to save you. I glare at him and cross my arms. I'm not some damsel in distress, Your Highness. I do not need your help. Rod snorts before turning away from me and walking away. Later that day, I watch Emily finish her exquisite etiquette's lesson. I can tell that the teacher is impressed with her progress. Emily is about to correctly name all the glasses and cutlery. She is not so slow a learner. I have come here earlier in the day to better teach Emily about proper dining etiquettes. It turns out that my lessons was valuable. You have shown great improvement, Your Highness. I am glad that you have been diligent with your studies. No doubt you'll be ready for the ball soon. Emily smiles, her cheeks turning pink. Thank you. I wouldn't have done it without the help of a friend. Emily glances at me briefly and smiles gently. I really owe her a lot. This is wonderful. I'm so glad you have such a dedicated friend, Your Highness. Friend? What are you doing? Yeah, you. What are you doing? Cat's being weird. Good boy. He's now laying on the floor. Is that really what I want? Is that really what I am to her? But princesses do not have maids as friends. A royal does not mingle with commoners, especially not with servants. Mother told me that before. Emily does not treat me as a maid, but she cannot possibly think of me as a friend. After the teacher gives Emily several books to study for their next lesson, she ends the lesson and excuses herself. Emily approaches me and grasps, God, that was hard, my hands. Thank you so much, Lucetta. I wouldn't have passed without your help. All I did was repeat the things our teacher taught you. But you're different. I raise an eyebrow at her. Different. I tend to get nervous in my lessons. My teachers are strict and intimidating. I cave beneath the pressure. But with you, I feel more comfortable around you. It's possible because we're almost the same age, and your lessons feel more casual. So thank you. I'm very grateful to you. She looks down at the ground shyly. I hope it's alright that we're friends. I furrow my eyebrows at her. Why would you even want to be friends with a maid? You're supposed to be making friends with the nobles, not the servants. Emily frowns, and I can feel her deflate. She walks towards the window and sighs. I tried. They may not say anything, but I can feel them slightly judging me. I wasn't born a princess, and I feel that they judge everything that I do. They think that I smile too much, that I'm not regal enough. They feel that I'm too clumsy or too cheerful. Well, Emily definitely does not act like a noble. I cannot say I blame the nobles for being skeptical of her. Being with them suffocates me. I do my best to act like a princess. But the way they all look at me, it's as if they're waiting for me to make a mistake. Then they'll all have an excuse to jeer at me. Every girl dreams of becoming a princess, and yet this is not my dream. I really just miss being a normal girl. I miss my freedom. I look at her thoughtful. I think I can understand what Emily is feeling. Just like me, she was thrown into a world she was not ready to be part of. Right now, we have no choice but to fit in. She never wanted my title in the first place, yet I accused her of stealing it. Have you told your mother how you feel? Emily shakes her head. No, not the king either. I don't want them to think that I'm ungrateful. That's why I'm trying my best to become accustomed to all of this. I cross my arms, but you are not happy. I'm not. Everyone just assumes that I'm happy because I smile a lot. She barely opens up to anyone, and yet she opened up to me. Have I ever given the choice before I was cursed? I would never have listened to her. You should have told them how you feel rather than just keeping it to yourself. Otherwise, the stress will continue to acclimate on your shoulders. I wish I could be more honest with them, I really do. I envy you for being able to speak your mind. She envies me? Emily takes a deep breath and sighs. The frown fades with the sigh and is quickly replaced with a fragile smile. I'm sorry for ranting to you like this. I must have bored you with my story. I used to get so annoyed with her, but now that I have seen this side of her, I suppose she's not as terrible as I had first thought. I remember that mother wanted to see me after my lessons today. Allow me to escort you to the Queen, then. Thank you. Give me a sec. Need to fix. Let me just fix this really quick. Okay, I think that is... Nope. Is that better? Yeah, it looks slightly better. Maybe. Whatever. I'll fix it more later, I guess. Days pass without any real conflict. I run into Sir Alacaster again in the hallways, but his eyes pass over me as if I am something to be ignored. Delore, who had been ignoring me as she had been busy with other priorities, returned to the Marchen yesterday to discuss something important with Parfait. It is not as if she had been any help since she came here. She mostly stayed in my room while I run around doing errands for Emily and taking on other chores as they are handed to me. Right now, I am headed to the palace gates as I hurry to meet Emily. She's going out of town to meet Vairika again, and I was told to meet her there. Prince Lucetta. I turn around and see Fritz walking in my direction. I'm glad we get to see Fritz again. Like I said last time, it was kind of odd that he didn't show up anymore. Ever since I told him to refer to me by my name, he had been stumbling over not using my title. I mean, that makes sense when he's used to calling you by a title, and he's the only one that, besides Rod, that still remembers us. I rarely see him, but when I do, we do not have much time to discuss anything. Can I help you with anything, Fritz? It's been a while. Have you managed to complete one of your good deeds? Days after I had originally run into Fritz, I managed to have a quick conversation with him regarding my curse. It's been a long time since that conversation happened. Recently, I have barely seen Fritz. I hear rumors that he's been reassigned somewhere outside the palace. Oh no. I show him my pendant and point at the piece that of the second glass slipper. I managed to get one several days ago. Lucetta, that's wonderful. I knew that you could get one. Only 2 more and I can break this curse. Ah, Fritz, Miss Lucetta, I did not think that the 2 of you were acquainted. We both turn our heads at the same time when Mythos suddenly appears from around the corner, the usual smile on his lips. Sir Mythos. Fritz, I believe Sir Alacaster is looking for you. Right, sorry, Lucetta. I must take my leave now, of course. Fritz bows to Sir Mythos before walking off, leaving me alone with Sir Mythos. Mythos does not say anything but continues to smile at me. His staring makes me feel incredibly uncomfortable. Is there something on my face? Excuse me. I curtsy and start to walk off when Sir Mythos calls my name. Lucetta. Yes? I just wanted to thank you for your hard work and dedication to our princess. I look at him, puzzled by his sudden gratitude. Don't worry, everything will soon be remedied. Excuse me? My apologies. I did not mean to keep you. He completely ignores my question. He dips his head slightly before turning and walking away, the smile still on his face. What was that all about? Rod and Emily are already waiting for me outside the carriage by the time I arrive at the palace gates. Rod has his arms crossed and looks at me irritable. His face is perpetually stuck in that scowl, it seems. You are late. My apologies. You're so grumpy, but you've been late so many times before too, Rod. Rod just shrugs his shoulders as he turns and heads into the carriage. Emily sighs before looking at me. Shall we? Of course. The 3 of us sit in silence as the carriage rolls towards the town. The knight assigned to guard duty is sitting out front with the driver, watching for any disturbances. Emily glances forlornly out one of the windows while Rod silently looks out the other as he rests his chin on the palm of his hand. I notice Emily pausing to glance at Rod every now and then, looking restless. Finally, she breaks the silence. Are you still mad that I asked you to come along to visit Vyrika? You could have declined the invitation, Rod. And if you would only tell me what happened between the 2 of you, I would do my best to remedy the situation. Rod notices me looking at him and scowls. He returns his moody gaze to the window. I have nothing to say, Em. But you used to be good friends with Vyrika too, Rod. But then, ever since you were... Emily stops herself, but I know that she is referring to his curse. After that day, you kept your distance from her. Then, when you found out about the wedding, you became even colder towards her. Even Vyrika is worried about you, Rod. She worries that she might have offended you somehow. Emily. I like how no one figures out that he has a crush on her. There's a hint of warning in his tone. Is it possible that Vyrika is related to Rod's curse considering the timing? Emily opens her mouth again to say something, but then suddenly stops and returns to the window, her expression mirroring Rod's own gloom. We are all silent until we arrive at the toy shop. Emily, good to see you again. And you too, Lucetta, was it? I nod in acknowledgement. Vyrika nods politely at the knight who stands guard at the shop's door. It's just the 2 of you today? Emily and I both turn around only to see that Rod has indeed vanished. Emily frowns, looking both bewildered and disappointed. He was right behind us. I will go look for him. Thank you, Lucetta. Just as I expected, Rod is leaning against the wall of an alley just outside the toy shop. Give me a sec. There you go. Return. Obviously we're gonna talk to him. Emily and Vairika are looking for you. When he does not answer, I cross my arms and raise an eyebrow. Do you hate Vairika that much? I don't hate her. Then why are you avoiding her? When we first came here, you actually looked friendly with her, but recently... This doesn't involve you, Lucetta. Fine. I will tell Emily that you will be in the carriage waiting for her then. When Rod does not answer, I sigh and start to head back into the shop. Princess Lucetta. Rod and I turn at the sound of the familiar voice. Waltz pauses in front of us with a bright smile. It's nice to see you again, Princess. Waltz, what are you doing here? Well, I was about to deliver a letter to the prince, but I guess that won't be necessary anymore. A letter? Is Lady Parfait asking for me? Not just you, she wants to see the princess as well. Me? It's been a while since I was last at the Marchen. Is something wrong? They need to discuss something important with the princess. Come to the Marchen tonight. Tonight? But we're already here, so why not now? Walt's eye shifts to our carriage. You are here with Princess Emily, yes? You can't just make her wait too long. What they need to discuss with you is complicated and will take some time to explain. The toy shop door opens and Emily stands in the doorway as she says goodbye to Vairika. Remember, tonight. Those are Waltz's last words before he slips back into the crowd. Emily's visit with Vairika was briefer than I thought it would be. Now all of us are heading back to the palace. Rod has not uttered a word on our way back. I can tell that this is making Emily agitated, as she continues to keep glancing at Rod expectantly. If you have something to say, say it. Emily stares at me. You obviously want to say something to Prince Rod. The only way to get your answers is to ask him directly. Rod does not turn around. It is as if he does not hear me. Emily clasps her hands and sighs. Well, I glance at Rod, who is persistently staring out the window, his eyes focused on nothing. He is pretending not to hear us. How immature. Rod, Vairika was sad that you weren't there today. She was certain that you stayed outside to avoid seeing her. What is going on with you? I'm not in the mood to answer your questions, Em. Emily grasps the edges of her dress, her expression becoming more rigid. For someone who's supposed to be right now the crown princess, Emily's dress is kind of plain, don't you think? Versus Rod's nice, like, almost military-like style. You've been keeping secrets from us ever since you were cursed. We don't know why you were cursed or... Sorry. We don't know why you were cursed or how to help you break it. Wait, the rest of the family doesn't know anything about the circumstances of Rod's curse? I had thought that he told them everything. But all they know is that he's cursed? We're a family. We're supposed to help each other out through... through problems. Emily's hands are shaking as she gazes at her brother, M. The carriage stops, and as soon as the servant opens the door, Emily quickly steps out and rushes back towards the palace. Rod watches her go quietly, though his eyebrows are furrowed and he looks guilty. I silently shake my head at him before running after Emily. Emily stands in the hallway with her hands to her chest. She breathes slowly in and out, as if she is on the verge of tears. When she notices me behind her, she turns away and wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. I'm sorry for storming off like that. I was just very frustrated at Rod. I'd said something I shouldn't have said back there. If anyone finds out about this, they won't. Your secret is safe with me. Emily flashes me a grateful smile before looking at the sky. One moment, Rod is running down the hallway. The next, he is stopped in front of us and is trying to catch his breath. I'm sorry. I'm sorry too, Rod, but right now I would like to be alone. Of course. I'm sorry, Lucetta, but could you leave me alone for now? She does not even wait for my answer before walking away, leaving me alone with Rod. You made her cry, Rod. I'm fully aware of that. Why are you hiding your curse from your family? You wouldn't understand. I am doing this to protect them. Protect them. Rod silently shakes his head. They wouldn't understand. Those are the last ominous words Rod speaks before rushing off, leaving me alone in the hall. What happened to him? We're not gonna talk about when to meet up or anything, to then go to the merchant. The hallways are silent at this time of night, as most everyone in the palace prepares for bed. I am now on my way to our meeting place. Rod told me earlier to wait for him here. I had thought that he would make me go to the marching by himself after what transpired with Emily, but I was wrong. Emily was so upset today. I've never seen her like this before. I turned my thoughts back to the marchand and what Waltz said earlier. I wonder what Parfait wants to talk to us about. I feel my heart beating erratically against my chest. Why do I feel like something bad is going to happen? I realize that I have been standing in the open for a while. Perhaps I should move. People might find me standing here suspicious. I start walking again and am surprised when I feel a hand close around my wrist and pull me into the darkness. I open my mouth, but a hand muffles my scream. Shh. Rod? Rod's gaze is icy. He speaks quietly, but I can feel the anger simmering underneath his words. What if someone saw you standing there? Have you ever thought about what they might get Have you ever thought about how they might get suspicious? His tone is so accusatory that for a moment I cannot find my voice. But then he is right. I should have been more careful. Sorry. Rod stares at me, surprised. What? I never thought I'd hear you apologize, especially to me. Oh? Well, at least I know how to apologize, unlike you. And why would I ever have reason to apologize to you? Because you've done nothing but treat me coldly, even when I have done nothing to personally attack you. Rod scowls at me, but does not say anything. Instead, he sighs and takes my hand, pulling me after him. Oh, Sappy's waving at us. That's cute. What? Let's go before the guards see us. I have no energy to argue with Rod, so I allow him to pull me along. I'm sorry. What? He apologized to me? Don't make me repeat myself. I did not hear you clearly. If there's one thing I know about you, it's that you're not deaf. Of course I'm not. Shh, someone will hear you. I glare at Rod, but he does not respond. Princess, your hand is really warm. Rod freezes in place and glares at Sabby, who seems to be shrugging. Your thoughts are too loud, Rod. Through the dim lights, I can actually see a faint blush on Rod's cheeks. You are blushing. I am not. He lets go of my hand and starts to walk towards the secret passage, with me trailing behind him. We look around to make sure no one is in sight before we both slip inside. I follow closely behind Rod in silence. My eyes move upwards to the little bunny plush hanging on his shoulder. Sabby, I've been wondering, have you ever talked with Rod's family as yourself? Rod suddenly stops and scowls over his shoulder at me. What? I'm asking Sabby, not you. No, I don't, Princess. Rod doesn't want me to talk with others since he thinks that I might say something unnecessary. So much for that. You still speak, even when it's unnecessary. In the dim lighting of the tunnel, I think I can see a faint pink in Rod's cheeks, but it's probably a trick of the strange lighting. Rod is right. Sabby has blurted out his thoughts more than a number of times. You're not doing a very good job, or what do you mean by that? I mean, if Sabby is supposed to only speak what Rod tells him to speak, he is not doing a very good job. Sabby sighs. How can I not when Rod hears thinking too loudly? It makes my head ache. You get headaches? That's not the point. The point is that when he thinks on something too long, his head becomes cloudy and really full. It's like it's going to explode. That's why I get to explain for him. He's not good at expressing his thoughts, so Rod cuts Sabby off by pinching his cheeks. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, I'll stop talking now. Rod sighs and continues walking. Rod, have you ever spoken with Emily since that earlier incident? No. As much as I want to ask him again about his curse, I doubt that he'll indulge anything right now. I decide to keep my thoughts to myself as we head for the Marchen. When we arrive at the Marchen, Parfait and Delora are there to welcome us. The others, however, are nowhere in sight. It's been a while, Princess. Thank you for bringing her here safely, Prince Rod. Where is everyone? They're all resting in their rooms now. It wasn't necessary that they be here for what Delora and I want to discuss with you. I will be staying in the tavern then. Rod is about to head for the tavern when Delora stops him. You don't have to leave. What we're going to say involves you too, since you're staying at the palace as well. Rod looks at her curiously, but asks no questions. Parfait and Delora gestures us over to the settee, where we all take our seats. This is something Rod and I must know because we're in the palace. I have a bad feeling about this. Before we start, I would like to congratulate you on your first good deed, Princess. Delora told me about it, and I can see the extra piece on your necklace as well. Parfait smiles at me, her eyes filled with pride. Her faith in me rekindles the dwelling confidence I had. If only you'd seen how happy Delora was when she announced it to us. You didn't have to go into specifics, Parfait. Oh, are you embarrassed, Delora? She smiles at Delora teasingly before turning back to me. Anyway, I know you can do it, Princess. Only 2 more to go, and you can break your curse. Yeah, keep up the good work, Princess. And you too, Rod. So, what is it that you wanted to discuss with us? I conducted a little investigation while I was with Lucetta in the palace, and I found out something important. Something important? I discovered that there is a witch in the palace. Wow. A shock. There's a witch in the palace? A witch in the palace? I felt a tinge of magic while I was there. It was faint, but definitely there. I don't know why she didn't notice it when she was first there. Only after we were cursed did she notice. I don't remember feeling it before when I was there as your doll, Princess. It seems that the witch is using a glamour to hide himself or herself from us. A glamour is a magic that only very experienced witches can cast, which means that the witch we are dealing with is no ordinary witch. They have the potential to be very powerful. But what would a witch be doing in the palace in the first place? This witch could be after the king, but what? Parfait and Delora glance at each other, looking conflicted. It is Parfait who faces me first, her expression grave. I'm afraid there is some other possibility we must make you aware of, Princess. And in order for us to explain it, we must give you the truth. Chapter 6. The truth. My only answer is silence. I shift my gaze to Rod, but he avoids my eyes. What's going on? Princess, it's very likely that this witch in the palace is looking for you. What? I cast a glamour on you a long time ago, but that could remain... I casted a glamour on you a long time ago so that you could remain hidden from magical eyes. I did it to protect you, but this witch in question could see through the spell I've casted on you. It is my belief that they are actively looking for you. I close my eyes and massage the temples of my head as I feel a headache coming on. Wait, you said before that the witches want to see their curses unbroken, but this sounds as if they have another motive altogether. What reason could they have for trailing me? The Timbrium has been without a bearer for a long time, ever since the end of the war. A new bearer, however, will soon arise, and the crystal is ready to support them. Some of the witches, the wicked ones, want to make sure that the Timbrium continues to spread darkness, even with this new bearer in charge. Okay, but what does that have to do with me? Delora crosses her arms, her expression grim. The title of the bearer is passed down from one descendant to the next. Princess, the last Tenebrium bearer was the late Queen of Angelia, your mother. I feel my blood go cold. What? As you are the Queen's daughter, you are the next heir. Come your 18th birthday, you will inherit the title of Tenebrium bearer. Mother? A witch? Impossible. Why would you sprout such lies? I narrow my eyes at them, searching for some hint that they are lying to me. Delora and Parfait never turn their sad eyes away from me. Rod glances at me briefly before turning away, looking uncomfortable. Hildur, your mother and I used to work together to maintain balance, and then the witch hunt drove her mad and turned her heart ice. But she never used any magic. I would have known if she was a witch. It's possible that you did in the past, but then it seems she erased all your memories of her true identity. Delora was already able to ascend Delora was already able to ascertain that most of your memories of her have been snatched away. Hildur needed you to remain obedient so that when you finally did inherit her role as the bearer, you would continue to do so as she wanted. My thoughts feel as if they are spinning endlessly on an axis. I am having so much trouble reading today. The real reason I cursed you was to see if you are truly capable of goodness, Princess. Hildur's influence clung to you even after her death, and we feared that you would continue her previous work, that Angelia might once again fall to darkness if you were not able to help the dark emotions in your heart. So then you cursed me because you were terrified of what I would do if I became the bearer as I was. My only answer is silence. Now I understand why people hate me. It was because I'm my mother's daughter. I cannot help but reach out to touch the pendant on my necklace as a feeling of dread washes over me. We know that there is goodness in you, Princess. We only wanted you to realize it by breaking your curse. Parfait sighs, looking guilty. It was a selfish act on our part, I know, but we could not risk another great war. They believed that I would have plunged the world into a war. I turned to Rod, who has yet to speak since the conversation started. Did you know all about this? Did you know about all of this? Everyone knows the story of the Tenebrium witch and her daughter. Everyone except me. I glanced down at my hands, suddenly feeling numb. I am a witch, and I will become the Tenebrium's next bearer. Just the thought of it makes me sick. I think back to my childhood. I can still recall the glares that everyone gave me when I was a child. They were scared of me because I was my mother's daughter? And what about the king? Did he never love me because I was the daughter of a witch? But if that's the case, if my mother was so wicked, then why did the king marry her in the first place? Hildur threatened to kill the woman that he loved if he did not marry her. He threatened to kill Ophelia. Ophelia? So the king has loved Ophelia from the very beginning. I clenched my hands into tight fists. After Mother died, he was able to reunite with his true love, and since then he had treated Emily and Rod better than he ever treated me, even though I am his daughter by blood. I wanted to feel angry about this revelation, but instead I feel a dreary emptiness inside of me. A heavy feeling begins to begin to settle in my chest, suffocating my heart. He never really loved me. Lucetta? Rod's voice snaps me out of my thoughts, and that is when I realize that a stray tear has made its way down my cheek. I quickly wipe it away with the back of my hand, angry at myself for showing weakness in front of them. You must be happy seeing me like this. What? Your mother was made queen, and you and your sister became royals overnight. It's like something out of a fairy tale, isn't it? You thought you had the perfect life until I came back into it. I never asked for this to happen. I just wanted to... Rod suddenly moves his hand to Sabby's mouth, muffling whatever other words the plush was going to say for him. What is it you want to say, Rod? It's nothing. I can assure you, however, that the power that comes with the crown has always been irrelevant to my family and I. So stop assuming that everyone around you is after your title or your riches. Did your time with my sister not teach you anything? I'm about to angrily retort when I suddenly stop, my heart sinking. I've already recognized that Emily is more complicated than I thought she was, and she has also told me that she never wanted to be a princess. My mother wouldn't have married the king if my father was still here. Delora looks between the two of us and sighs. And here I thought your relationship had improved. Now it seems like it's back to square one. I cross my arms and turn away, annoyed. Do you have anything else to add, Parfait? If not, I would like to return to the palace. Princess. Stay vigilant and be careful about who you trust. Oh, excuse me. Trust? How do you know whom I trust? What makes you even think I trust you? The anger that I was expecting earlier suddenly rises to the surface. For all I know, Parfait and Delora could be feeding me lies, playing with me the way Delora did when she first cursed me. I don't expect you to believe what we've told you. Perhaps it was not yet the right time to reveal everything to you. But please, you need to be careful. I stand up and look at them, my arms now hanging limply at my sides. How am I meant to trust anyone when all of you have been lying to me this entire time? Lucetta. If you don't believe us, then try asking the king who Hildur truly is. I never even thought about asking the king about Mother. Rod, you should watch your back too. It's possible that this witch in question could be plotting something against the royal family as well. They have been in the palace for a long time after all. She looks at me, then at Rod, her expression somber. I won't be able to stay with you anymore. I had to pick up and leave a few days ago because I was certain he caught a trace of my magic. He probably already has. I understand. Anyway, Lucetta is right to return to the palace now. Someone might notice your absence if you're gone much longer. You two should leave now. Let us know if you notice anything unusual. I will. We'll see you again soon, Princess. Remember, stay vigilant. Rod and I leave the Marchen in silence. Here, in the secret tunnel, we have suffocated under even more silence, but neither of us make an effort to speak. I'm still stuck inside my own mind, shifting through the troubled thoughts. I cannot recall the fact that the Wicked Witch who led the witches during the war was my mother. I did not even realize how many people hated my mother until after she had passed, and they spoke about how cruel a queen she was. I never understood why, since she had always been the perfect person in my eyes. I never connected my mother with the Tenebrium bearer, but what Parfait and Delora just told me makes sense. Was I living a lie all these years? A lie that my mother created so that I remain cold and bitter even after she passed away? And Delora and Parfait say I meant to inherit the power of the Tenebrium from my mother. I do not want that burden. I almost bump into Rod's back when he suddenly stops walking. He turns around and looks at me with a serious expression. I cannot help but feel judged beneath the weight of that gaze. If you were going to tell me that you never wanted me as your partner because my mother was a witch, then I wasn't going to say that. What? I won't lie. The first time I saw you, I thought you were like your mother. You were cold, harsh, and selfish. I never wanted to have anything to do with you. That was why I was so against this partnership, but you've changed. Rod's expression softens. As you and Em have grown closer, I have seen that you are not like your mother. She speaks fondly of you, and I can tell she really enjoys your company. That's why, even if I do not have plans to break my curse, I will still do what I can to help you break yours. It's the least I can do as your partner. I stare at Rod in shock. This is the first time he has ever been so nice to me. Why are you staring at me like that? I'm only doing this because you're important to my sister. Rod turns away, his face beet red. Liar. Rod reaches up to pinch Sabby's face. Ow! Obviously we thank him. Compliment him is just a stupid idea. Thank you. Rod turns away, his cheeks dusted pink. It's no big deal. I'm only doing this because I see how dedicated you are to breaking your curse. Because I want my old life back. And now that they have told me about Mother, I want to prove that I am nothing like her. Anyway, I still want to help. You with your curse, Rod. Why do you refuse to break it? Rod stares down at his feet, expression melancholy. Because I cannot... Rod stops and shakes his head. He says nothing else, and I do not probe him anymore, especially not after seeing the distant look on his face. We walk through the corridor and back to our rooms after we say our goodbyes. I wonder what Rod was going to say. Mother, look! Eleanor got me this gift. Eleanor? She is my maid and my friend. Princesses don't make friends with their servants. But she is really nice. She even taught me how to braid my hair like Those servants are only nice to you because you are the princess. They only pretend to be your friends so that they can have power over you. But Eleanor would never... What reason do I have to lie to you? When have I ever lied to you, little one? You have never lied to me. That is correct. Tomorrow, I will remedy this situation. I will hire a new maid. You are not to befriend this one, no matter what she says. But Mother, are you arguing with me, Lucetta? No, I'm sorry, Mother. It has been days since Parfait and Dolora revealed my mother's true identity and the inevitable responsibility I am to have on my shoulders once I turn 18. I've been trying to ask the king about Mother, but he is even busier these days than he was before, and it impossible to find a single moment in the day to speak with him. The fact that I am a maid makes it even harder to garner his attention. When I am not on break, I continue to do my duties serving Emily. Right now, I am accompanying her as she practices her walk and posture. Ophelia had been helping her, pointing out any mistakes she finds. See, look, Ophelia's dress is much more elaborate than Emily's. I know how hard this is, dear. I had to go through this training as well before I married the king. Emily allows her shoulders to slouch as she lets out an exasperated sigh. I've always hated these lessons. I had thought my posture was fine. This is supposed to refine it, and yet all these lessons have been doing is hurting my back. Oh, Emily, you'll get the hang of this. You just need to keep practicing. But Mother, I've had the same lesson before. Why must I do it again? Because you slouch when you walk, and that is unbecoming of a princess. Emily scowls at her mother, and Ophelia's frown falls away as she busts into laughter. Mother, you're not helping. The atmosphere in the room is far from heavy as Emily and her mother continue to conduct their lessons. It's almost the exact opposite of the lessons I had with Mother. Mother always got angry when I made even smallest mistakes. I know this is hard, but as the crown princess, all eyes will be on you during the ball. The people there will judge any small mistake you make, which is why you need to be in top form on that night. I know. Ophelia clasps her hands. All right, now to start again. Emily groans before heading to the far wall and straightening her back. She takes a deep breath, puts a book on her head, and begins to walk again. The book falls from her head on the third step. She sighs, moves back, and starts the process again. Neither of us break Emily's concentration by speaking. We stand idly by and watch as she tries time and time again. I am surprised when Ophelia leans towards me and begins to whisper. Lucetta, I've been meaning to say this before, but I am grateful that you are friends with my daughter. I look at Ophelia's smiling face with surprise. I never agreed to be her friend. You are not against the princess making friends with her servants? Why would I be? I actually wish more of the staff here wouldn't be so uptight, since I would love for Emily to be on good terms with people who serve her. Besides, social status is never an obstacle to friendship. Ophelia shifts her gaze back to Emily, who is now picking up the book that has once again fallen from her head. No matter your occupation or status, a friend is always a friend. You've given Emily the courage she needs to face the many challenges she has ahead of her. In a way, she's like your family, since you're always around us, like family. Come what may, both family and friends are there for you and will accept you for who you are. Even before I was cursed, Emily was always trying to be my friend. That means she knew all along who my mother was and still wanted to be my friend. The thought makes me remember what Parfait told me about Mother threatening to kill Ophelia if the king did not marry her. I turned to Ophelia, curious. Your Majesty, may I ask what you know about the late queen's rule? Ophelia looks at me puzzled. Whatever. So I quickly add a thoughtless lie. I was not in Angelia and have only heard stories. I just thought it was so hard to believe that with how peaceful things are in the palace right now. The kingdom was a dark place back then. People lived in fear under her rule. The king had no real power over Angelia. The witches had free reign over the kingdom. They cast the fairy tale curse incessantly and on a whim. We barely left our houses in fear of becoming cursed. Mother's reign was that terrible? The king still blames himself for the darkness that befell Angelia during that time. That is why he works day in and out to stabilize the country and to put smiles on everyone's faces. I remember long ago how he told me once of the reason he would always continue to work hard for this kingdom was because he wanted to make a brighter tomorrow for his children. Ophelia looks confused for a moment and then brushes off the awkwardness with a small chuckle. He helps the family in his own way. Is it possible that he said that with me in mind? And Ophelia's slip up, but then maybe he was always referring to Emily and Rod. The kingdom's come a long way since then, hasn't it? There's still witches here and there, but most of them don't bother others. I pray that the peace we are experiencing right now will last. I see. Thank you for telling me. It is a bit of a dreary topic, but I am happy to have helped. If you need anything else, please don't hesitate to call on me. I know it may not be traditional protocol for a queen, but then I do not consider myself a typical queen. I try my best to listen to everyone here regardless of what their title or name might be. I can only nod at her in response. Princess or maid, the way Ophelia has treated me has never changed. She has always treated me with kindness, regardless of who I am. I never saw it before because I was always so distant with everyone, but now I see that Ophelia treats everyone here with kindness, regardless of social status. I was always frustrated by the servants when they compare Ophelia to Mother, saying she was so superior, but now I think I understand why they would make such comparisons. Emily dismisses me after her lessons, and I begin to head immediately back to my room. I have just turned a corner when I notice Sir Alacaster standing before me, scowling. Watch where you're going, child. I quickly avert my gaze, not wanting a confrontation. He always looks at me so strangely, almost like he can see into my mind, or is trying to. My apologies, Sir Alacaster. Sir Alacaster nods his head at me stiffly before walking off. You are pardoned, Princess. I turn to stare after him, but he has already turned the corner. My blood becomes cold. Was that just a slip of the tongue? How else could he know that I am the princess? Is it possible that he is cursed? No, somehow that doesn't seem right. But if he does not have the fairy tale curse, could he be the witch that Delora warned me about? What reason would he have for unveiling his identity then, unless he just wanted to intimidate me further? It occurs to me that Fritz remembers who I am. Did he tell his father about me? Now I'm even more confused about whom I should trust. Lucetta. I jump when I hear Rod call me. His expression slowly creases with something that looks like worry. You're pale. Did something happen? Would he believe me if I told him? Why would he not believe you? Why would he think you lie? Sir Alacaster knows I'm the princess. Do you think he's the witch Delora was talking about? I whisper the words to him, and he responds by raising an eyebrow, looking surprised. What makes you say that? This isn't just because of the standoff way he acts, is it? You don't believe me? Rod sighs. I never said that I didn't. It's just that we can't just blindly accuse anyone without any real proof. Rod stares at me for a few moments, then closes his eyes. His eyebrows slightly furrowed with thought. Sir Fritzengerald also remembered who you are. I do not want to be so suspicious of Fritz, but I don't think blindly trusting him would be right either, given those circumstances. You need to stay vigilant around it. If anything happens, you can come talk to me about it. You're worried about me? Rod averts his gaze from me. Of course I am. Wow, you're actually being honest. What? Rod glares at Sabby before pinching his cheeks. Anyway, I must leave now. I have a dance to practice for. Dance? But you already know how to dance. What you have left to practice? Rod does not answer and only walks away. I decide to follow after him. Okay, sure, why not? Why did you follow me? I shrug. I wanted to see you practice. To be honest, I want to see him dance. I already know that Emily is very clumsy when it comes to dancing. But outside of that one practice with Emily, I've never seen Rod dance. Emily always gloats on his behalf, but I have yet to witness Rod's supposed talent with my own eyes. Our dance together was so short, I barely had any time to judge him. I do not practice with an audience. Why? It is my preference. Rod is easily embarrassed. Rod groans and pinches one of Sabby's cheeks, glowering. Sorry. Rod relentlessly releases the bunny with a sigh. I notice you have been talking more lately, Sabby. Oh, that's because Rod here has been saying things that contradict what he thinks or feels. Sabby makes a sound of defeat as Rod once again pinches one of his cheeks. Rod stares at me with wide eyes, and I stare back, beginning to panic. What is wrong? You smiled again. I put a hand to my mouth, flushing. I was smiling again? I never even noticed. It was a pretty smile, princess, right, Rod? Rod quickly turned away, cheeks slightly pink. I need to practice now, so I would appreciate you leaving. He did not even command me to leave. What a surprise. Emily said you were a really good dancer. I want to see it with my own eyes. Why? So you can judge me? I'm not here to judge you. Why else would you be so keen on watching me? I am mostly curious. Curious. I want to know how good you really are. Then yes, you are to judge me. I hold out my hand and he stares, looking taken aback. I should not be scolded for being curious. Why not just one little dance to prove how talented you are? Rod stares at me for a few minutes before reluctantly taking my hand. Fine, you better not step on my feet. Rod starts leading the dance. He glides us into the imaginary rhythm of a waltz. Even without the music, I am able to count the steps in my head as I follow his lead. This is different from that short dance we showed Emily. Rod's movements are graceful, but Rod's movements are graceful, his touch gentle as he leads me to an underarm twirl. When I come to face him once again, I notice the gentle way he stares at me. The usual hardness of his expression is gone, melted into something relaxed. I find myself staring back at him, looking into his eyes. Perhaps Rod does have some gentleness to him. Our gaze does not break as he twirls me. You have beautiful eyes. Rod's eyes widen as soon as mine does. He abruptly lets go of my hands and steps back. I can only stare at him, my face warm. It wasn't me this time. That was more than just a thought, I swear. Rod says nothing, though his cheeks continue to darken with embarrassment. Oh my. Rod and I turn to look at Emily, who is hovering by the door. Excuse me. Rod quickly walks through the doorway and out into the hallway, leaving Emily and I in the room. What just happened? That was a wonderful dance, Lucetta. You were watching? I only just saw the last few minutes. But you know, the two of you really did look like a couple. It was sweet. A couple? Oh, you're blushing. I put a hand to my cheek and turn away with a scowl. I am not. Besides, whatever just happened was embarrassing. Do you like Rod? I stare at her. I do not. Also, you are forgetting that I am a maid who cannot be with the prince, even if I wanted to. He's grumpy and cold. And even though we are not blood related, he is still my stepbrother. If only Emily realized how crazy her words were in the light of the truth. Emily suddenly looks starry-eyed as she giggles at me. Love knows no boundaries, dear Lucetta. Besides, he seems to like you. Your brother hates me. Rod can be a contradiction sometimes. Sometimes he says the opposite of what he feels. It's only when you get to know him, as well as I do, that you realize what his truths are. I cannot help but think of Sabby, who always speaks Rod's thoughts aloud when they are contradictory. He was always so mean to Vyrika when we were young. He would always bully her for being a crybaby, even though he cried far more often. Oh, but then I realized that he treated her more special than he did anyone else. Can you stop coming in and out of the room? Yeah, you need to stop this. Pick one or the other. You need to stop. Okay, I'll be right back. Give me a sec. Oh, this cat wants so much attention right now. Yeah, you want so much attention. Ugh. Ugh. Cat hair everywhere now. You're fine. Okay. There. Scoot the chair back in. Back then, I knew that he liked her. I thought that one day the two of them might even grow to love each other, but Emily lets out a sigh as she directs her attention out the window. His attitude towards her has changed ever since he was cursed. Then they grew even more distant when Vyrika found a lover. Is that the reason why you have been going to the toy shop with Prince Rod? Because you want to bring them back together? Emily nods. The three of us were best friends, the three musketeers. It's not the same without Rod. I kept on asking him what's wrong, but he refuses to tell me. He's always been stubborn, but it's not like him to keep secrets. It's really frustrating because I have no idea what I should do to help him. I thought he was just being stubborn with me, but apparently no amount of prodding, even from his own family, will make him budge. Why is he being so difficult? I hope you do not mind me asking, but what do you know about his curse? Emily stares at me for a few moments before nodding. You're my friend, Lucetta. And I know that I can confide in you. I know that sometimes I am not trusting enough, but I think Emily is still far too trusting. We only know that he has the mermaid's curse. I read the story so many times hoping that I can figure out some way to break his curse. I think back and realize that I've actually read the beginning of The Little Mermaid a long time ago, but I do not have the chance to finish it because I was caught by Mother. The Little Mermaid is about a mermaid who traded her voice for legs, right? Yes, she does it so she can be with her prince. Rod's voice was taken away, but I'm sure that he was given something in exchange. I heard that the curses are derived from the original tales, but they are twisted in some way to fit the format of a curse. I nod slowly, thoughtful. I have a strong feeling that Rod's curse is related to Vyrika, but I cannot draw the connection. But still, Vyrika might be the key to understanding his curse. If Rod will not delve anything, the next best chance we have for understanding his curse might be going through Vyrika. Chapter 7. Yeah, we can still go on for a little longer. I don't know if we'll finish Chapter 7, but we can at least keep going. Today is the first time that I'm leaving the palace on a day off. Usually I choose to stay inside. Whereas the other servants always leave to go home, I never see any reason to leave since this has always been my home. And the merchant has never been home. Besides, it's not as if I want to return. Not after that conversation we all shared last time. Thus, I have spent most of my days asking questions about Mother's reign, inquiring when and where I can. The options do not surprise me. I was so scared of her. One wrong move and she'd have you thrown in prison. The townsfolk would always wait for her to pass by before leaving their houses. She was a tyrant. The kingdom is a better place now that she's gone. There is no reason for them to lie to me. The more I hear, the more my old life makes sense to me. I now know why the king never seemed to love Mother and why the people hated her, and the reason people look at me with such fear. However, it has been months since I've been glared at in public. If there is one good thing that this curse did for me, it is that it allows me to travel around town without being noticed. As Vairika's shop comes into view, my thoughts shift to the reason I have left the palace in the first place. If Rod will not tell me anything, I will have to ask Vairika. She must be related in some way to his curse. I pause outside the door to the toy shop. With a deep breath, I push the door open. Welcome. The moment she sees me, her expression becomes confused. Oh, you are the princess's maid, Lucetta, was it? I nod at her. You've never come in here alone before. What can I help you with? I wanted to ask you something. It's about Prince Rod. Prince Rod? Did something happen to him? Is he okay? He is fine. She sighs with relief. Then what is it you would like to ask? I just wanted to know if you knew anything about Prince Rod's sudden muteness. Vairika stares at me for a few moments before she shakes her head. I only know that it happened soon after I met my fiancé, Decamon. What reason do you have for asking? Well, I try to think of a plausible explanation for this, and I immediately consider Emily. Vairika is Emily's best friend. Surely she would be willing to help if she knew I was doing this for Emily. Prince Rod has been very quiet recently. Prince Emily has been worried sick about him, but he refuses to say anything, even to her. I've been trying to gather information that might be helpful in discerning the cause. I stare at her expectantly, hoping that my gaze holds nothing but determination. Finally, Vairika smiles. She's lucky to have a dedicated friend like you. I am still not accustomed to the fact that Emily considers me a friend. Before she became the princess, I was her first confidant. We were like sisters. But now that she's living in the palace, we no longer have the luxury of spending so much time together. I worry about her constantly. Even around me, Em always tends to keep her problems to herself at first. She doesn't like to bother other people with them. It is hard not to agree with the way Emily was always smiling before. I never thought she had any problems in her life. It was only recently that I discovered she was hiding all her loneliness and pain behind a smile. It's a relief she's befriended someone who cares so much about her. I don't know if I can be much help, but I'll tell you what I know if it will help Emily. To start with, I'm not exactly sure how everything changed, but it all happened so suddenly. All I know is that after the night I met Decamon, our relationship changed. At first, he still smiled, but recently he'd been avoiding me. What happened between the two of you that night you met your fiancé? Nothing. Rod and I did not meet on that day. Prince Rod wasn't there? No, but soon after what happened that night, Rod grew distant. What happened? It was a stormy night, and I was heading back home. I took the route by the river bank because it was the shortest route. It was foolish of me. The road was slippery and full of mud. I lost my footing and fell into the water. The waves were strong, and I was certain I was going to drown. I don't remember what happened in the darkness of that water, only that when I woke up, my head was in Decamon's lap. That was the first time we met, but not the last. He carried me home, and he came by every day as I was recovering. and then he came to visit even after I recovered. I tried not to get my hopes up too much, because what could this nobleman see in me, a mere commoner? But I still ended up falling in love with him. You have no idea how happy I was when he said he loved me too. It was a dream come true. Of course, every girl dreams of marrying a prince. It was in all of the fairy tales I read as a child. None of that was at all related to Rod. How does this relate to his curse? You said your relationship with Rod changed after the night. What happened? Vyrika sighs. I told Em and Rod about Decamon soon after the incident. Em was happy that the two of us had fallen in love, but Rod didn't say much of anything. That's when I noticed he started growing distant, and when I realized that he had also lost his voice. He still won't tell me anything, but I figured that he was... Her voice fades, but I know she is referring to the curse. So Rod lost his voice shortly after Vyrika met Decamon. The mermaid's curse must have something to do with the tale. The little mermaid traded her voice for legs so that she could be with her prince. But that night, the only person who found their prince charming was Vyrika. Rod's curse must have something to do with Decamon and Vyrika. He became distant with her after finding out about Decamon. Why? Then there is the fact that he still spoke with Vyrika even after he was distant. It was only when he found out about their wedding that he became so cold. I frowned as I tried to organize my thoughts. How did it get to be this late? I'm so sorry, Lucetta, but I have to close the shop now. Sorry for the story. I know it's nothing to do with Rod, but it was after that incident that he began to act strangely. I don't think I was much help, but I shake my head. You've told me what you could. Vyrika walks me to the door, opening it so that the both of us can step out onto the streets together. Wow. That was either a really long story, or we came pretty late in the day. I really hope that you're able to help Emily and Rod. I hope so too. Did you see Ophelia the other day? I catch sight of the two noblewomen sitting on a bench together not too far from the toy shop. They're referring to Ophelia without her title. How disrespectful. Who would have thought a peasant like her could almost look like royalty? But her dress, as the queen, she ought to be wearing silks rather than satin. I don't know why, but I bristle at their comments. Everyone is entitled to their opinions. But the fact that they are speaking so bluntly in public means they have little to worry of being overheard. I'm still not sure what the king saw in her. Well, you know what they say about ladies lacking natural beauty. Her talent must lie in other, more persuasive areas. She must be very persuasive indeed if the king saw it worthwhile to marry her. As the two women laugh, I feel something hot begin to burn in my stomach. Vyrika takes in a sharp breath beside me. Since I began, Lucetta, I wouldn't. You have no right to say those things about the queen. The two women are clearly surprised at my interruption. Both of them glare at me. And you have no right to eavesdrop on us. You're talking in the middle of a public place? Decently loud if we can hear you, like, probably across the street. I have every right to come up to you then. Eavesdropping, everyone could have heard you. Their mouths fall open. One of the women look at me for a long time, then sneers suddenly as if something has occurred to her. I thought you looked familiar. You're the crown princess's personal maid. I see you always following her around when she's in town. This is none of your business, girl. Why do you care so much about our opinions? Perhaps it's because the girl idolizes the queen and thinks she might also go from rags to riches. What? Oh, you do have a point. They stand and advance towards me. Do you want the prince for yourself, girl? If the commoner can become the queen, it's not too difficult to imagine yourself as a princess, is it? How foolish. You're better off dreaming smaller dreams, girl. They laugh, and the irritation in my chest blazes into full-on anger. Is this what Ophelia had been dealing with for the past year? She is being treated so cruelly when she has done nothing but love the king, and I also ridiculed her just like this. I forced myself to look at the cruel woman as I moved my hand to the pendant hanging around my neck. I was just as cruel as them. I barely feel Vairika's hand as she rests it against my shoulder. Lucetta, let's go. Her Majesty wouldn't want you to do this. But I cannot just let those two women talk about Ophelia like this. I pull away from... Give me a sec. I pull away from Vairika and stand firm. The queen has a good heart. She is far more noble than either of you could ever hope to be. I think back on the time I was cruel to her. Ophelia could have easily reprimanded me for my behavior. She had the right as my stepmother, yet she had been nothing but kind to me. Ophelia never got angry at me, even despite my treatment towards her and her family. She is always treating others with kindness, even when they are cruel to her. Judging from the bitterness in your accusations, it seems like you are jealous of her. How pathetic. The other women march towards me, and my free hand instinctively moves to hold her hand just before her palm reaches my cheek. I will not tolerate any insults towards the queen. A soft light emits from the pendant, and I can only stare at it in shock. I got another good deed by defending Ophelia? The woman snatches her hand away. How dare a peasant like you talk that way to us? Have you no manners? I could ask you the same. What happened to yours? How dare you? Don't you know who we are, girl? I will see you pay for your impotence. Our words have far more weight than yours ever will. I will go to the king myself to tell him about how rude you were. I can pass on the message myself. I turn and see Rod walking towards us, his expression cold. The two noblemen hastily curtsy. Your Highness. The noblewomen turn pale as Rod's eyes fall on them. Actually, we have an important dinner engagement. Yes, we do. The two noblewomen curtsy before quickly departing. What are you doing here without your guards? What trouble have you gotten yourself into now? Nothing. It is nothing. If you refuse to tell me what happened, I will have to assume that the noblewomen were telling the truth about you. Lucetta has done nothing wrong. In fact, I think Lucetta only did what you or Emily would have done had you heard the awful things the women were saying about your mother. What? She stood up for the queen when she didn't have to. Then why didn't you just say so? Would you have believed me? Rod drops his gaze from mine. You never gave me a chance to believe you, did you? He would have believed me? How am I to know that? Rod is like a walking contradiction. Rod glances up again, this time to look at Vyrika. We shouldn't keep you from returning home, Vyrika. I'll take Lucetta back to the palace. Vyrika's eyes narrow, and she looks ready to say something, but Rod has already reached out for my hand to pull me along behind him. When we are out of sight of Vyrika's shop, Rod stops, releases my hand, and turns to face me. Did you really think I would refuse to believe you if you told me the truth? Considering you didn't believe us when we said, Sir Alicaster knew who we were, why would I think you would believe me now? You never liked me. You have no reason to believe me. Rod sighs, running a hand through his hair. I told you that I would help you break your curse, right? That offer alone should be enough for you to know that Rod turns away, suddenly looking embarrassed. That I don't dislike you anymore. Can't say he likes us, but he doesn't dislike us anymore. Okay. You're expecting me to just assume that? How would I know unless you made that absolutely clear? Well, I'm making it clear now. Thanks. I understand. Anyway, thank you for standing up for my mother. It seems like you didn't require my assistance in breaking your curse after all. He gestures to my necklace. Congratulations on your second good deed, Lucetta. Suddenly tongue-tied, I find myself looking anywhere but at Rod. When I once again gather my senses, I turn to the road. My eyes narrow when I recognize the path we are on. This is not the way back to the palace. No, it isn't. We're going to the merchant. Why? Because I was on my way there before I was forced to take a detour because someone was drawing attention to herself. What? But Rod ignores me, and we walk the rest of the way to the merchant in silence. Waltz is the only person in the reception room when we enter. Prince Rod? Princess? It is a little late for the two of you to be here. I had meant to be here earlier. Is Lady Parfait here? Waltz nods. I'll go get her. Wait here. As soon as Waltz leaves us alone, Rod turns to me, his expression rigid. Rod steps closer, grabs my shoulders. What is the issue now? I wasn't able to say so earlier because we were out in public, but you should know just how much danger you're in now, and yet you thought it was okay to go around on your own? It was my day off today. It is not unreasonable for me to want time for myself. Time to yourself? Don't you understand the meaning of being careful? Why would you do something as foolish as going out into town alone? I cannot help but bristle at his tone. Why are you so angry? Because you're... Rod trails off and looks away. Because you're family. So you have finally acknowledged me as family? I notice his cheeks turning red. To be honest, you're less of a family member and more just important. I'll take that. I can be important. Because of all that you do for Emily, you're important to my sister. He looks uncomfortable as he says the words, and I cannot help but marvel at his embarrassment. Why is he so embarrassed? But Rod changes the topic as he turns away from me. Why were you with Vyrika? I can only think of one reason you'd speak to her. My curse. You thought you'd find out about my curse through her? I shrug. I can only assume that your curse has something to do with Vyrika. I look up when Rod says something, but then stares at the continuous sight before me. He has taken Sabby off his shoulder and is holding the doll in his hands away from his face. The two seem to be arguing in some silent conversation, and then gently, Sabby speaks words I can hear. This is the right thing to do. You need to let her help you, Rod. Are we finally learning about his curse? Rod bites down on his lower lip before briefly closing his eyes. Eventually, he returns savvy to his usual spot on his shoulders and turns to me. Fine. You're stubborn, and you're not going to quit investigating unless I tell you, are you? You're right. Vairika is the reason I was cursed. Rod sits down on the settee and lets out a heavy sigh. His eyes are far away as he speaks to me. I was in love with Vairika, but I wasn't brave enough to tell her. I just followed her around like some kind of puppy. One day, Vairika hadn't come home and it was raining very heavily, so I went out to look for her. I found her walking along the bank of the river. I called out to her to tell her to be careful, but I don't think she ever heard me. She slipped and... Rod swallows. He clenches one of his hands into a fist. She fell into the river. I dived in after her. I somehow managed to get the both of us onto the riverbank, but it didn't look like Vairika was breathing. I didn't know what else to do. I started panicking. I ran off to try to find help, but I couldn't find anyone in the storm. When I returned, she was gone. I rushed to her house, and a doctor was already there, tending to her along with Decamon. Rod's gaze is vacant as he nods. When Vairika began to fall in love with Decamon, I felt helpless. Did you not tell her you were the one that saved her? Why would I? Vairika was so happy believing that she and Decamon were fated to be together. I couldn't do that to her. But surely if you told her... Rod interrupts me. I want the people I love to be happy. I don't care if their happiness causes me pain. I'd rather bear that alone instead of bringing down those around me. My chest aches as I watch Rod's face. I never would have guessed that Rod would be so selfless. But that didn't stop me from thinking that I could make her love me instead. I decided to become what I thought Vairika wanted most, the Prince Charming of the fairy tale she so adored. So I asked a witch to turn me into one. She stole my voice in exchange. Only then did I realize that she had inflicted the fairy tale curse upon me, the mermaid's curse. The next day, the king turned up at her house, proclaiming that he'd been looking for my mother for years and that he never stopped loving her. When the king married my mother, I became a prince, and it was just as the witch promised. But it didn't matter. I didn't see it when I made the deal with the witch, but I couldn't be blind to it forever. Decamon and Vairika really do love each other. They make each other happy. Nothing I can do will ever change that. Prince Rod? Oh. Parfait pauses in her tracks when she sees me. Have I interrupted something? No. Rod moves over to Parfait, but he stops to glance back at me. I won't be long. Parfait looks at Rod and then looks at me, her face puzzled, but she does not say a word as Rod and her leave the room. I don't know how I feel about how he got his curse. It is kinda stupid, but people do stupid things because they love people, so I guess it's not that stupid. I don't know. I did not get the chance to discuss Rod's curse with him later that night, nor did I get the chance to speak with Parfait and Delora about my suspicion of Sir Alacaster. Days go by, but still I find myself overwhelmed by preparations for the ball. Things become more frantic every day, making it difficult for me to have any time to speak with anyone. Eventually, I decide to write a letter containing my suspicions of Sir Alacaster. I tell Parfait and Delora that I believe he might be the witch they are looking for. I also add that I believe Fritz might somehow be involved, though my suspicions are not as well founded with him. To make matters worse, he went and disappeared. I have not heard anyone mention his name here for a very long time. I am forcefully pulled from my thoughts when I collide with someone. The linens I have been holding scatter over the floor. Either you're holding like way too many linens that when you just hit someone, they just all fall. Or you're just not holding them tight enough, which at that point, like, what are you doing? It's fabric. Hold it tight. Excuse me, I did not. I look up and my voice trails off when I see who I bumped into. Lost in your thoughts? Why aren't you smiling at me today? Sir Mythos looks at me, something veiled in his smiling eyes. Oh, there we go. Now you're smiling at me. I suppose those are the linens the queen asked for? Yes, please excuse me. I began gathering up the linens, but as I reach out for one, Sir Mythos picks it up first. Allow me to help you. No, I'll be fine. But this was partly my fault. Let me assist you. I bite my lip and do not protest as Sir Mythos helps me gather the rest of the linens. I am contemplating my schedule for the rest of the day when I realize that Sir Mythos has been talking. I don't suppose you have any idea who that maid is? Maid. There's a cold amusement in Sir Mythos's gaze. Surely you've heard the rumor that the young prince has been seen with a royal maid somewhere around town. Rumor has it that Prince Rod has found love among the common folk, much like his royal stepfather has. Rod with a maid? With a maid. As far as I'm aware, the only maid he's been out in town with has been... I freeze as Sir Mythos straightens, pats down his clothes for dust before holding out some of the linens to me. If it is true, I wish him the best, though I wish he would be more discreet about it. A royal scandal is the last thing we need right now. I shakily take the linens from Sir Mythos as he inclines his head to me. Have a good day, Lucetta. I walk to the dining hall in a daze, my mind whirling with the implications of what Sir Mythos just said. I'm sure it was those noble women who spread this rumor. Ah, Lucetta, thank you for bringing these to me. Just leave them on the table. Why are we bringing linen to the dining room? Unless the linen is like a tablecloth. But if it's a tablecloth, we don't need that many tablecloths for one dining room. I curtsy after placing the linens down as commanded, if that is all. Lucetta, I straighten at the tone of Ophelia's voice. When I look up, I see that her expression is carefully still. I am about to ask you something that you might not want to answer, but I am very hopeful you will. I will answer if I can. Good. Ophelia sighs as she sits down on one of the dining table chairs and folds her hands on her lap. I've been trying to ignore it since palace gossip is mostly false, but I can't help my curiosity. I wanted to ask about your relationship with my son. What? I understand you and Rod were out together in town a few days ago. Do you want to tell me what happened? What do we want to say? Do we want to explain it or just dismiss that it's gossip? I think we should explain it. Because, we can brag that we did a good deed. If Ophelia is asking about these rumors, then I can only imagine what sort of story these women made up. Prince Rod was on his way somewhere when he chanced upon me. When he saw that I was in trouble with two noble women, he stopped to intervene, that is all. Rod said the same thing. Then why did you ask me, Your Majesty? To see what you thought about the situation. I don't think anyone should get a say in what your relationship with Rod is. My relationship with Rod? I like you, Lucetta, and I am curious, and I am certain that you're good for Rod. If I had my way, I would let him court you. I feel heat in my cheeks as I trip over my words. The prince and I are not in a relationship. A member of the royal family cannot end up with a servant. Where there's love, there's hope. Social status shouldn't stop you from being happy, Lucetta. Then what about the fact that I am Rod's stepsister? I bite down on that statement fiercely. I already know what role I am playing here, and I cannot break it. Ophelia looks at me with a complicated expression before she says, I will not push you on this any further. But be careful, Lucetta. Your closeness with my son and daughter has not gone unnoticed. I do not believe in limiting relationships because of one's status, but I understand. I curtsy as I move towards the dining hall's entrance. What did Ophelia mean by that closeness not going unnoticed? Later that day, I am waiting outside the throne room for Emily to finish one of her classes. Two maids walk towards me and stop in front of me. Lucetta, isn't it? What is it? I have already finished all of my tasks for the day. Oh, I'm sure you have. Probably rushed through all of them so that you could hang around the prince and princess tonight. The head housekeeper's been giving you a lighter load so you can afford the time to play around, I blink at them confused. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't play dumb. All the servants know what you've been doing. Just because you're Princess Emily's personal maid doesn't make you better than the rest of us. I'd be careful not to get too big for your boots, Lucetta. Are you threatening me? What if we are? Then I'd be very disappointed in you. Princess Emily. Emily moves to stand beside me, a disapproving expression on her face. I did not expect such petty cruelty from the two of you. You should be ashamed of yourselves, Your Highness. You really do have a talent for getting yourself into trouble. Rod pauses briefly, his eyes meeting mine for a second before he looks at the maids. Don't you have better things to do than bully my sister's maid? We apologize, Your Highness. We'll be on our way. The two maids run off. Emily turns to look at me. Are you okay? I am about to answer when I notice that Rod is abruptly walking away from us. I frown at his back. He had only just started becoming nice to me, and now he is back to acting as if I did not exist. What did I do? Emily puts her hands on my back and gently pushes me forward. You wanted to ask him something, right? I could see it in your eyes. Emily smiles as she pushes the door to the throne room open. I have a few more questions to ask my teacher. I'll be a while. But she disappears into the throne room before I can finish. I glance down the hallway. Rod just disappeared down, and then back at the throne room. My thoughts swirl together in a vague mess until I make my decision. Wait. At the sound of my approaching footsteps, Rod turns and looks at me. He scowls but doesn't say anything. Tell him off for his behavior or say nothing. Well, if we say nothing, he's going to be pissed at us more for just stopping him, so tell him off. The words spill out of me before I even think on them. What have I done now to make you angry with me? Nothing. He turns away and I glare as I follow closely behind him. You expect me to believe that? You can at least look at me when I'm talking to you. I reach out a hand to his elbow and pull him back so that he is facing me. Rod. But the words die in my throat when I see the expression on his face. His face is red and he refuses to look me in the eye. My surprise causes me to release him. Rod quickly turns around and begins to walk away. I am left to stare dumbly after him. What is wrong with him? Normally he's not so afraid to speak his mind. I frowned as I feel a dull ache throbbing somewhere deep in my chest. What is this? Why do I feel so sad? Normally Rod's distance does not make me feel like this, and yet now I am so sad that he does not want to speak with me. I shake my head and take a deep breath to still my mind. It is better not to think about it. Chapter 8? Chapter 8. Okay. I was not planning to do another whole chapter, but 7 seemed pretty short. But we are going to call it here. We'll finish 8 and probably chapter 9 next week, because I'm pretty sure we'll get the bad ending again. And then we're playing, I don't know what we're playing next. I forgot already. And then, no, we'll probably finish Rod's whole route before we move on. I think that's what we did last time. If not, that's what we're doing this time. But anyway, like I said, I will see you all next week. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.